What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be installing forged wheels on my RSV4. I've had these wheels for about 2 months now, waiting to be installed. The reason I haven't installed them yet is because, well, for multiple reasons. One, I wanted to do a ride review and some comparisons with the bike before I installed these wheels. Second reason was that a lot of these parts were out of stock, so I was waiting for them. Let me give you a quick preview. Brembo rotors. I wanted the gold carrier so bad. Even the ABS sensors, I got them brand new. Rear rotor, sprocket carrier that comes with the wheels, new sprocket. This is a 42 teeth going down from 43. Brand new screws for front rotors and rear rotor. Brand new nuts for the sprocket carrier and sprockets. New brake pads, Versa Super RJLXX, and of course, my favorite, Pirelli Supercorsa SV4. Once I complete this installation, I'm gonna take the bike for a ride review. I'm gonna make a separate video going over, obviously, the forged wheels and whether it's worth spending this kind of money in this entire setup, but I will also review the single items that I installed, for instance, the brake pads, the brake rotors, how do they perform and if they really make a difference or not. Okay, so I'm going to start with the front wheel. The wheel comes already pre-installed with a spacer for the rotor and one screw. This is a 5mm. We're going to remove this and keep the spacer on the wheels. We're going to keep this and install the rotor. This is the right side of the wheel. So for the right side of the wheel, we're going to install the brake rotor and the ABS sensor. Okay, now you're going to put brake rotor above it, and align holes and also align the ABS sensor. I'm going to use blue Loctite for every screw. And repeat the same process for a total of 6 screws. Okay, we're going to take a 5mm hex, but before we tighten these screws, basically what you're going to do is the wheel spins front clockwise like this. And when the brake pads grab the brake rotor, what is going to happen is if the wheel goes like this and the brake pads hold the rotor is going to spin this way. So make sure that when you tighten the screws, the rotor is not pushed forward, but in the opposite position of where the wheel spins. Not here, but here. If you tighten it here, what's going to happen is that your first brake, the rotor will move back. It's not going to be an issue, but it could loosen up the screws and you will have to recheck them. So to avoid that, make sure you twist it in the opposite way of the wheel and then tie them down here. We're also going to start with a cross pattern. Okay, now we're going to torque them down at 30 Newton meters. Okay. All right. Okay, now that all 6 screws are torqued, we're gonna flip the wheel on the other side and install the rotor here. For this side, we will not need any wheel sensors, just the rotor and the screws. Okay, the process is identical with the other side. The difference that we're not installing the wheel sensor, but we're just gonna put blue Loctite on all 6 screws, tighten them, torque them, and we'll be good to go. Now again, remember, before you tighten the screws, the direction of the wheel is this way now because we flipped it. You can also see these arrows from the wheel here. Direction of the wheel is here. If brake pads hit here, and this goes like this, rotor will go back. So not here, back, opposite from the direction of the wheel. So while you keep it opposite, you tighten the screws. Once they're tight enough, you will torque them down again to 30 Newton meters. Okay, now for the rear wheel, I'm gonna start from the brake rotor side. This is already pre-screwed by factory. I checked the torque and it's at 30 Newton meters already. What I'm going to do is install the brake rotor, install the ABS sensor, and then we're going to repeat the process using blue Loctite on all 5 screws. These are the same screws with the front brake rotor screws. Now again, before we tighten these screws, the direction of the wheel is clockwise. Brake pads will hold it, which means as this goes front, this will go opposite. So don't tighten there, tighten there. Hold it and tighten the screws. And we're going to torque these on also 30 Newton meters. Once you torque all these 30 Newton meters, rotate the wheel, and I'm gonna bring the sprocket carrier and install the sprocket. Insert the sprocket carrier. The sprocket carrier behind it has an 8mm hex. I'm not sure if I'm gonna have to hold these while I screw the 14mm nuts above the sprocket. We'll find out. Insert it in. Insert the sprocket right there, and we're going to use this Pro Bolt pre-drilled for safety wiring. These are 14mm. These were out of stock for a while, so when I placed the order for these, they emailed me. They told me that they're out of stock and if I wanted to wait for a new batch for them, and I said yes because I wanted them to be black to match the pattern I'm going for. Yeah, it was 14mm socket. I'm gonna tighten it a little bit, and then I'm gonna remove the sprocket carrier, only so I can see if while I'm screwing this, if the 8mm turns, and it seems that it's not. Perfect. Yes, you don't have to use an 8mm. From the back, all you need to do is torque them down at 50 Newton meters. Okay, so I removed the nuts again only for demonstration purposes, because if you're not going to safety wire them, you must use blue Loctite. I will use blue Loctite anyway, since I'm doing it to demonstrate it. I don't really have to because I am going to safety wire it, but double safety. Okay, torque wrench at 50 Newton meters with a 14mm. Go 1, 2. All right, all 5 torqued at 50 Newton meters. Okay, install is complete. The only thing that's left is the tires, which I'm not going to be doing that myself. For one, I don't have the tools to do it. I don't have a wheel balancer, but even if I did, I doubt I would be risking these wheels on a manual tire change, so I'm going to be taking these at the shop and have them do it for me. Then I'll bring back the tires and the wheels as a whole and do a weight comparison with new wheels and the stock wheels. So with magic of editing, boom, wheels are ready. Let's go put them on the bike. Okay, I'm gonna start with the rear wheel first by removing the 32mm nut. Now that the nut is out, I'm gonna push the wheel axle. I have the rear wheel on stands, so it should stay in place. There you go, wheel stays in place. And I'm gonna hold the wheel, remove the stands, push it forward so I can make the chain loose. There you go. Okay, weighing stock wheel with sprocket and sprocket carrier. 13.9 kilos, and this is with an aftermarket sprocket, the 520 aluminum, which is lighter. So technically stock wheel with stock sprocket would be more than 14 kilos. Let's weigh the aftermarket wheel. Okay, core motor wheel with sprocket and sprocket carrier, 12.8. So more than a kilo difference in the back. This is like 2-point-something pounds. Okay, now we have to be extra cautious as we don't want to scratch the new wheel. Okay, I don't think I've ever been that cautious when installing a wheel. So you can notice here that the chain is loose. That's because I dropped the rear sprocket to 42 teeth from 43, which means we have to bring the rear axle back. This is exactly why I love these, because now I can just add clicks both sides and I won't even have to check for equal measurements. All I will need to check is for the chain tension and I'll be good to go. Perfect. Now the wheel is in, chain's on and adjusted. We're gonna place the washer here. I'm gonna place the 32mm nut and torque it. Okay, Core Moto says that you cannot torque the axle nut more than 80 Newton meters. So the max that they're giving us is 80. I'm gonna go for 80. That's it. Rear wheel is done. Okay, now for the front wheel, I'm gonna do 30mm hex, the axle nut. There you go. And the washer. And then with an 8mm socket, and loosen the pinch bolts. And we're gonna loosen the pinch bolts on the other side. Now with the 8mm hex, I'm going to loosen the brake caliper bolts. All right, and the other side. Now we're going to return to the brake caliper and remove the bolts completely. And remove each caliper on each side. Next step will be to replace the brake pads with Vestra brake pads. I'm doing this now before I install the wheel in case I accidentally have the caliper slip on me. I don't want it to hit the wheel or the new Brembo rotors, so I'm gonna do this now. First, gonna need to separate them a little bit with a screwdriver. Just remove the brake pads. And I have basically nothing left, almost. Okay, this is a good opportunity to clean your caliper cylinders a little bit. I'm not gonna show the entire process, but you get the point. Now we can insert the new brake pads. I'm going to repeat the process for the next caliper. Now we can remove the axle. Okay, stock front wheel with stock front brake rotors, 10.8 kilos. A core motor wheel with Brembo rotors, 10.8. Okay, that is weird. Exact same weight. Now we're going to place the brake caliper. There you go. Just leave it hand tight there. Repeat the process on the other caliper. And now place the washer, the actual nut. You're gonna barely hand tighten it, but you will not torque it yet. Before you tighten the axle nut, what you're going to do is, while you have it loose, still you're going to compress the forks from the triple clamp. You're going to compress the triple clamp from the forks down here, so you can have the axle casting and the forks settle before we tighten the axle nut. Okay, now that the axle casting and the forks have settled, we're going to tighten the pinch bolts. I've already tightened pinch bolts from the other side. Now we can tighten them so they can keep the axle in place so we can torque this. So Core Moto recommends a maximum of 54 Newton meters for the front. So obviously I'm going to do exactly 54 Newton meters. There we go. I was in mods, so should do the job. Okay, so the last bolts to screw would be the brake caliper bolts. The reason we leave this last is because there's a process to settling the calipers. So once they're all hand tight here, you're going to screw left about 1/8 of a turn, 1/8 of a turn. So you have the caliper just a little bit loose like this. And what you're going to do is going to set your torque wrench at 50 Newton meters. And you're going to spin the wheel. Spin it, hold the brake, front brake, and while you're holding the front brake, you're going to torque down with the 8 millimeter. That's 50. And that's 50. Repeat the process for the other side. All right guys, install is complete. Let me do a close-up on both wheels. I mean, the front looks unbelievable. That gold carrier makes such a difference. Let's see the rear wheel with the rotor. Yeah, what a difference, man. Let's check out the other side and the left side. Safety wiring, and the rear sprocket, gold chain. I even love these red painted new tires, the V4s. Just blends in with the bike. Wow. All right guys, install is complete. Now the true question is, was this worth it? Because I spent roughly $5,000 on this entire setup for the wheels and rotors and all the accessories on the wheels. So is it just looks or is it also performance? Based on the weight that I saw, I have a feeling that I may not feel a difference on the ride review, but I can't speak too early until I ride it. You never know. But look-wise, I think it's beautiful. I think it transforms the bike completely. This is gorgeous, but is it gorgeous enough to justify $1,000 or is it not? Guys, thank you for watching. If you like this video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and stay tuned for that ride review.